I woke up with my cheek stuck to my sleeve. My arm was numb. My lower back felt like someone had taken a bat to it in the night. For a second, my brain tried to do the normal school morning thing. Alarm, bus, someone yelling about being late. Then the smell brought it back. Dust, sweat, that lemon cleaner. Something faint and metallic that hadn't been there before, like pennies left in a wet pocket. The classroom was still dark. It wasn't pitch black. It was dark in a way that felt wrong for morning. The blinds were down, but the light that leaked through the bent slats didn't look like sunlight so much as output. White, thin, steady, with little twitches in it that made the stripes on the floor look like they were breathing. Mr. Haskins was sitting upright against the door, yardstick across his lap. He dozed off like that, chin dipping every few minutes, then snapping back up. Jaden was awake too, eyes open, staring at the tile chip shaped like Florida, like he'd been studying it all night. Nina had Mia's head on her shoulder, and Mia's face was crusted with dried tears. Eli was curled with his hood up, humming under his breath like a fridge. Tyler sat with his knees pulled up, watching the broken ceiling tile like it might do something on its own. Nobody spoke at first. The quiet felt expensive, like if we wasted it, the building would notice. Mr. Haskins finally cleared his throat, and even that sounded risky. "Phones?" he whispered. "Anybody have power?" A few screens came out like guilty contraband. The glow made our faces look sick. Mine was dead. Cold slab. I pressed the button anyway. Nothing. Nina's was at 4%. She turned it off immediately, like it was a candle in the wind. Jaden had 11. Tyler had 18. Seth's phone, Seth's whole backpack was just there. On the floor, half open, like it had been dropped mid-motion, and then nobody had been able to pick it up again. Nobody said his name. Mr. Haskins rubbed his eyes with the heel of his hand. His face looked older than yesterday. "We need water," he said, and it came out like an admission. "We also need a space we can control. This room has too many openings. Ceiling tiles, door, windows." "Cafeteria," Tyler whispered. "It's open, bigger, we can see." "More windows," Nina said. Her voice was thick, like she'd been talking in a whisper for 10 hours. "We can cover them," Mr. Haskins said. "Curtains, paper, whatever. And it has access to the kitchen, sinks, maybe bottled water, maybe something." His eyes flickered to the corner where Seth had gone to pee in a bottle. You could tell he was thinking about what something might include. Eli's humming slowed, then stopped. "They like you moving," he murmured. Mr. Haskins didn't look at him. "They also like you drying out in one place until you do something desperate." That hit. Even Eli shut up for a second. Mr. Haskins breathed in slowly, like he was trying to convince his own lungs to cooperate. "We move when we can see," he said. "We move with purpose. Low noise, tight group. No responding to anything that calls for us. If you hear your name outside the group, you treat it like it's a prank from hell." Mia made a small sound and wiped her face. Nina squeezed her hand, but it was more like Nina was squeezing herself. "How do we do it?" Jaden whispered. "Without, you know?" He didn't say engagement, like the word itself felt like a bad luck charm. Mr. Haskins looked at the floor for a long moment. "We do it anyway," he said. "We do it carefully. We moved desks, not a big scrape, tiny drags, quick lifts where we could. We shoved a table under the broken ceiling gap, like yesterday's desk marker wasn't enough. It still didn't feel like protection. It felt like a note written to something that didn't read. Then, Mr. Haskins took a piece of notebook paper from his desk, tore it into strips, and wrote names in thick marker. Ben, Nina, Jaden, Mia, Tyler, Eli. He taped them to our shirts. "Why?" Tyler whispered. "If something calls Ben in the hallway," Mr. Haskins said, "we don't react. We react only when one of us says it, looking at us." Eli's eyes glinted under his hood. "Thanks," he whispered, like he liked the idea. Mr. Haskins gave him a look that shut that down. We waited by the door. Mr. Haskins listened with his ear to the wood, then pulled back like it was cold. Silence outside. Not empty silence. Staged. The kind that felt like it had an audience. He cracked the door anyway. The hallway was dim. Exit signs were still red. That thin, white daylight down the corridor looked smeared, like someone had rubbed it with a thumb. The lockers were worse. More dense, more doors hanging open, a trail of little scuffs on the tile that didn't match shoes, like something had dragged a wet mop without a mop head. Mr. Haskins stepped out first, yardstick in hand, like a joke that wasn't funny anymore. I went second because he'd picked me, and I didn't know how to refuse him without feeling like a coward. Behind me, Nina guided Mia with one hand. Jaden stayed close, gumjaw working even though he didn't have gum now. Tyler brought up the back, and Eli drifted in the middle like he was on a museum tour. We moved toward the stairs because the cafeteria was on the first floor and our room was on the second. Each step sounded too loud in my head. Halfway down the hall, I caught a smell that made my stomach twitch. Burnt hair, faint, mixed with that old mop water stink. "Don't look," Mr. Haskins whispered, and I realized my eyes had tried to slide left where the smell was strongest. I kept them forward. We passed the classroom with its door ajar. Inside, I saw a chair tipped over and a backpack on the floor. Something dark was smeared near the teacher's desk, but I didn't let my brain label it. If I labeled it, it would stick. At the stairwell, we paused. The metal door to the stairs was dented inward, like someone had slammed into it from the other side. There were little scratches near the handle, thin, parallel lines, like a ring with sharp edges had been dragged across it. Mr. Haskins swallowed. "Slow," he mouthed. He pushed it open. Stairs smelled like sweat and old concrete. The light in there was wrong too. The same white leak coming through the tiny stairwell window. The window was high. None of us looked at it. We moved down, and my brain kept doing a stupid thing, counting steps. Like if I counted correctly, the stairs couldn't change. On the landing, Mia stumbled. Nina caught her. The sound of Mia's shoes scuffing metal echoed. Everything inside me tightened. Nothing happened. We moved again, faster, trying not to be faster. On the first floor, the hallway opened wider and the air got cooler. There was a hum somewhere deep in the building, not HVAC, something lower, like a long vibration you feel more than hear. We made the turn toward the cafeteria. The double doors were closed, frosted glass panels in them, dusty, like old breath marks had been wiped there and left streaks. Mr. Haskins motioned us back a step. He leaned close to the doors, listening. I heard nothing. Then, soft tapping, far away, like fingernails on tile. Mr. Haskins didn't move. The tapping faded. He pushed the cafeteria doors open. Inside, it was huge and dim. Rows of tables. The stage at the far end where assemblies happened. The trophy case along one wall. The kitchen doors behind the serving line. The windows were massive, stretching along the right side. The blinds were half open in places, bent, twisted. Light came in wrong. It cast long, white streaks across the floor that didn't match the shape of the window frames, like the angles had been edited. Mr. Haskins whispered, eyes low. We moved along the interior wall, away from the windows. I could feel the pull though, human curiosity trying to check if the world was still outside. I kept my eyes on the linoleum, the scuff marks, the little dried ketchup dot someone had stepped in yesterday or 10 years ago. Kitchen, Jaden whispered, like he was afraid saying the word would summon a voice to answer. Mr. Haskins nodded. We secure first. We spent the next hour doing the most surreal version of school safety I'll ever know. Tyler and I shoved tables sideways to create a thick barrier a few feet inside the cafeteria doors. Something we could hide behind. Something we could slam shut behind us if we had to retreat from the hall. We dragged the heaviest benches close, layering them like a barricade. Nina and Jaden raided the gym storage room off the side hall. Mr. Haskins insisted the gym was risky, too open, but he let them go because the mats were the one practical thing we could use. They came back sweating, hauling those thick blue fold-up mats, the kind that always smelled like rubber and old sweat. They dumped them in a pile near the stage. Mia sat against the wall and tried to breathe. Her shoulder where the ceiling thing had tapped her had a faint dark spot still. She kept rubbing it, like she could erase it with friction. Eli wandered the cafeteria slowly, eyes down, humming again. He stopped near the windows and tilted his head, not up, just sideways, like he was listening to the light. Mr. Haskins snapped his fingers once, sharp. Eli flinched and drifted back. The kitchen was the next target. We slipped behind the serving line and pushed through the double swinging doors. The kitchen smelled like grease and sanitizer. There were stainless steel counters, shelves, a freezer door with a thick handle, the big industrial sink in the center. Jaden went straight for the sink like it was a holy site. He twisted the faucet. Nothing. He tried the second faucet. Still nothing. His face pinched, and I could see the panic trying to rise. Not tears, something uglier. Mr. Haskins opened the cabinets. He found a case of small water bottles shoved beyond paper towels, like someone had been hiding them from the rest of the world. He pulled it out like treasure. Jaden made a sound that was almost laughter, then it died in his throat. We ration, Mr. Haskins said. Immediate. Small sips, not chugging. We don't know when we get more. Tyler popped one open anyway, took 2 mouthfuls, then stopped like he'd been slapped by his own guilt. I took 1 sip and felt my throat loosen. It was warm, like it had been sitting in a hot closet, but it was water. Real water. For a moment, the cafeteria felt like a plan, like we could do this by being organized. Then from somewhere in the building, a sound rolled through the air. No scream, no tapping, something heavier. A long, low groan, like metal bending at distance. It traveled through the floor and up my shins. We all froze. Mr. Haskins held up a finger. We waited for the follow-up, the second sound, the confirmation. Nothing came. He exhaled slowly. Okay, he whispered, like he wasn't sure who he was saying it to. Okay, we set up. We made beds out of the gym mats near the stage, away from the windows. Mr. Haskins insisted on keeping the group together in one zone rather than spreading out like we were camping. He said the word together like it mattered more than anything else. We covered windows as best we could, rolled down blinds, taped up butcher paper from the art closet, stacked trays in front of the lowest panes. It wasn't perfect. It never was. But it made the cafeteria feel less like we were sitting under a spotlight. At some point, with the adrenaline fading, my body finally admitted how tired it was. I sat on a mat, staring at my name tag like it was proof I existed. Nina whispered to Mr. Haskins, "What do we call it?" The alert. Mr. Haskins' eyes darted towards the windows, toward the ceiling above the cafeteria, toward the kitchen doors. Whatever we call it, he said quietly. We don't talk about it like it's a thing we can bargain with. We use plain language. We describe what we see. That's it. Eli smiled faintly. Plain language won't save you, he murmured. Tyler snapped. Shut up, dude. Eli didn't argue. He went back to humming, that same low tone like he was trying to match the building's frequency. Time moved wrong. You could tell it was day because the light through the papered windows shifted a little, but it didn't feel like morning to afternoon. It felt like a slideshow that kept buffering. We did shifts again, but now it was 2 awake by the kitchen doors, 2 awake by the cafeteria doors. Mr. Haskins stayed awake more than anyone. I don't know if he was trying to protect us or punish himself. Sometime later, we kept guessing times because no clocks worked and no phones had signal. Mr. Haskins made the next call. We need information, he whispered. We can't plan blind. From who? Nina asked, voice tight. Mr. Haskins stared at the tiled floor like it might answer. Other rooms, he said. Other people. There has to be someone else alive. If we're the only ones, we still need supplies. And if we find someone who's compromised, we learn what that looks like. Eli whispered, You're asking to meet them. Mr. Haskins didn't look at him. We already have. He meant Olivia. He meant Seth's voice at the door. I hated how true it was. We moved as a group again. Cafeteria doors first. Hallway empty. That same staged quiet. Mr. Haskins led us back upstairs toward the second floor, toward our old room. He wanted to grab more supplies. Blankets, first aid, anything. The stairs felt longer going up. On the second floor landing, we heard something in the hallway ahead. A faint scratch, then a soft thud, like a body shifting. Mr. Haskins held up his hand. We stood frozen, listening. A whisper drifted down the hall. Not a voice calling our names, and not mimicry either. Just words, human words, broken up. Please. I didn't look. Mr. Haskins' face tightened. Tyler mouthed, Person. We moved slowly toward the sound, hugging the wall. It came from the bathroom area near the science wing. The boys' bathroom door was open a crack. Mr. Haskins stopped. Ben, he whispered, so soft I could barely hear it. You and Tyler cover. Nina, Jaden, Mia, stay back. Eli. Eli was already looking at the floor like he was bored. Stay with them, Mr. Haskins finished. Eli's lips twitched like he found that funny. Mr. Haskins pushed the bathroom door open. The lights were dead. The space smelled like old urinal cakes and damp paper towels. In the far stall, someone was sitting with their back against the toilet, knees up, arms wrapped around themselves. A senior. I recognized him in a vague way. One of the kids who wore a cross necklace and always talked about church stuff in the cafeteria. I didn't know his name, but I knew his energy. His eyes were open, fixed on nothing. He looked like a paused video. Hey, Mr. Haskins whispered. Hey, you with us? No response. He held up his hands, palms out, and approached like you would approach a dog that might bite. The kid didn't move. Mr. Haskins crouched a few feet away. What's your name? The kid's lips parted slightly. Nothing came out. Then, the kid's eyes shifted, barely, towards Mr. Haskins. The whites weren't normal white. They had a sheen, like oil spread thin over water, a film that caught the dim light and shimmered. Tyler's breath caught. Mr. Haskins noticed too. His jaw clenched, but he didn't back up. "Okay," he whispered, gentler. "Okay, we can help you. We have water. We have a safe place." The kid's chest rose, fell. His throat worked like he was swallowing something thick. Then his lips moved, and sound came out like a leak. He whispered. "It's the rapture." Nina made a small, involuntary noise behind me and clapped her hand over her own mouth. The kid's eyes drifted upward, not toward the ceiling, not straight up. More like his gaze kept getting tugged toward the air above Mr. Haskins' head, like there was something there he could see through people. "Fear not," he whispered, suddenly louder. "Fear not, for..." His voice cracked. He coughed, and the cough sounded wet. Mr. Haskins glanced back at us. "Stay low," he mouthed. The kid's hands started shaking. He pressed them to the sides of his head like it was too full. "One of them spoke," he whispered. "One of the bright ones. It said to me, it said..." He started laughing. It wasn't humor. It was panic, leaking out in the wrong shape. "It said I was chosen," he said. "It said my sins were known and forgiven, and I should stop hiding and step into the..." He stopped, eyes wide, like he'd heard something we hadn't. Then he leaned forward with sudden intensity and grabbed Mr. Haskins' wrist. Mr. Haskins stiffened, but didn't yank away. You could see the teacher part of him trying to stay in charge. The kid's grip was sweaty and too strong. "It's an angel," he whispered fast. "That's why the warning. That's why they told us. They don't want us to see. They don't want us to..." His eyes darted to me, and I felt my stomach twist when he looked straight at my face like he recognized me even though we never talked. "You saw," he said, accusing, voice rising. "You looked." "I didn't," I whispered immediately, and my voice sounded small and guilty even though it was true. The kid's pupils swam under that oily sheen. "Liar," he whispered, and then laughed again, then started crying like his body couldn't decide. Mr. Haskins gently pried his fingers off. "We're not leaving you," Mr. Haskins said, "but you need to calm down. You need to keep your eyes down. You hear me?" The kid blinked hard. Tears leaked out. He whispered, "Fear not," again, like he was trying to hypnotize himself. Tyler whispered to me, "This guy's cooked." I hated him for saying it. I also couldn't deny that part of my brain agreed. We got the kid moving by promising water. He walked like someone half asleep, feet dragging. Every few steps, he'd stop and tilt his head, listening to something inside the walls. When he talked, it was bursts, pieces. It was so bright. It had a voice like it was inside my head. It said I was safe. It said the world is being sifted. It said the faithful would be lifted. Nina whispered, "What's your name?" He stared at her for a long beat, like he'd forgotten names existed. "Caleb," he said finally, then smiled too wide. "Caleb like the Bible, like..." "Okay," Mr. Haskins cut in gently. "Caleb, keep going, eyes low." We brought him back to the cafeteria. The walk felt longer with him. He kept stopping and trying to talk louder, like preaching. Mr. Haskins kept squeezing his shoulder and whispering, "Lower, lower." Eli watched Caleb with an interest that made my skin itch, like Caleb was an experiment. When we got back to the cafeteria,
Caleb sat on a mat and drank half a bottle of water in one go before Mr. Haskins took it from him. "Slow," Mr. Haskins said, "firm now. You'll throw up and you'll waste it." Caleb stared at him like he didn't understand the idea of consequences anymore. "You're rationing," Caleb whispered. "In end times." "Yeah," Tyler snapped. "Welcome to the end times." Caleb's eyes shimmered when he smiled. He whispered, "Fear not." Jaden muttered, "I'm gonna start punching people." Mia, quiet until then, whispered, "Did it touch you?" Caleb turned his head slowly toward her. His gaze landed on her shoulder spot and stayed there. "It marked you," he whispered, almost delighted. "It likes you." Mia recoiled so hard she nearly fell off the mat. Nina caught her. Mr. Haskins' voice went hard. "Caleb, you don't say things like that." Caleb's mouth worked. He licked his lips. His tongue looked normal. That made it worse. "It told me," Caleb whispered. "It told me it spoke." Mr. Haskins crouched in front of him again, eye level. What did it look like? Caleb's eyes flicked, unfocused. "Bright," he whispered. "Too bright. Like your eyes wanted to fall into it. Like a hole made of light." "That's not helpful," Tyler said, then immediately looked guilty for saying it. Mr. Haskins kept his voice even. "Did it have a shape?" Caleb shook his head, then nodded, then started laughing again. It had hands," he whispered. "It had so many hands." Eli whispered, barely audible, "They're learning." Mr. Haskins ignored him. He asked, "Did it say anything else?" Caleb's lips trembled. It said, "Fear not." Nina's face tightened. "It always says that." Caleb snapped his head toward her. "Because it's true," he hissed suddenly, voice sharp. "Fear is for people who doubt." Tyler leaned forward, anger rising. "Dude, stop acting like you've got VIP access." Caleb smiled, then the smile disappeared. "I am forgiven," he whispered. "I am chosen." Mr. Haskins straightened slowly. I could see him thinking. We brought an unstable person into our only safe space. But he didn't say it out loud, because saying it might make it true. Some stories end when the words stop. Others don't end at all. If you enjoyed this story, there are many more waiting in the dark. Until next time.